any further ado, Jamie from MILegalize.
Hey, well, Michael did a pretty thorough job, and he also crossed over into the legalization a little bit, so maybe we wrap this up before too long. But I want to, first of all, thank Grow Green and recognize Grow Green for doing something that's really unique and bringing this information from all the great vendors who gave presentations today to the lawyers, Schuyler Angle, and of course we just heard from Michael Kamor, and it's a lot of great information to bring to the customer base, and it's unique, and they should really be recognized for that. That's a really cool thing. And I'm honored to be continuously asked to come back here and just update people on what's going on. And today I'm going to talk about legalization and then a couple of action items. And then if there's any questions, we'll be happy to field those. But MILegalize started a legalization campaign at the last time it was available to get on the ballot and made an attempt for 2016. We did get enough signatures, but we were challenged on the time frame in which they were handed in, and we ended up not making it to ballot. And we still believe we were unconstitutionally denied ballot access, but regardless, we didn't make it. At that point, we had to kind of decide whether or not we were going to keep this going or what our plan was going to be. In the meantime, the MMFLA that was just being discussed by Michael, passed by the legislature, and several other interested parties in legalization kind of came on the scene and were talking about doing their own types of initiatives, mainly like more business-oriented type of initiatives. Ours was pretty broad and liberal in 2016. So in an effort to try to make something happen, to get some incremental gain at the very least, many of us sat together at a table and hammered out something that we could all live with and that covered a lot of the ground of the various aspects that really need to be taken care of for legalization. And while it's not the most broad and liberal or as good as our last time around, it's pretty good. It's only one initiative, and all the resources then are combined to help push it through. So current status of that, and that was a coalition of people. MILegalize kind of handling the volunteer and grassroots aspect of the campaign, and all these other professional organizations coming in to work together. There's a PR company called Truscott Rossman, very well known, one of the best in the state. There's Elections Law, Honigman Law, and it features John Pirich, who's known widely as one of the best elections lawyers in the state. A national group, Marijuana Policy Project, who's worked on this in many other states, also involved helping out with the negotiations and the organization. And we began collecting signatures in May. We're now within the final days, and we are going to have enough signatures to make the ballot. So everybody should applaud at that one. They're not officially turned in, not officially counted, but we're just at that point, and we'll definitely celebrate when that's official. And then the part of the campaign starts when we have to handle all of the people in opposition. Mainly in opposition right now is a group who originally tried to come into Michigan and create one of the oligopoly kind of approaches. I know people heard about an election that took place in Ohio a couple of years ago for legalization, and even though the population or the masses of Ohio would like to see legalization, it didn't make it at the ballot box because it was a very restrictive kind of like, again, an oligopoly kind of approach. And the idea of that just a few people, few groups controlling the entire market was not palatable to the people of Ohio. Had they been successful, that would have been a bigger push here. Fortunately, that did not take place. But those same people have formed a group called the Group Against Pot in Schools and Neighborhoods or something like that. And so they will be spending, they're rich, and some of them are billionaires, and they'll be spending some money in opposition. And the PR company and all of us who know the truth are going to have to be a part of batting down that opposition and making sure people get to the ballot box in 2018 and pass this. So that's where we are with legalization right now. I want to add in just a couple of action items, and then if there are any questions, that's fine. If you want to get into legalization, even more MMFLA, I can try to get through some of that. And we also have both of the lawyers who were here talking about that earlier. They could help out with those questions. But there is more money needed for this campaign. The coalition itself, Coalition to Regulate Marijuana Like Alcohol, that is regulatemi.org. You can go there, get more information, and you can make a donation. This is to finish off signature gathering and to start the PR campaign. You can go to MILegalize.com and donate directly to like the grassroots side of this campaign, and that money will go toward the campaign as well. You can educate people. You can begin to help people get registered to vote if they're not already. Some people don't. Some people find this to be too broad and liberal. Some people find it to be too restrictive. You can let them know this is what's on the table. This is an incremental gain, and this is a good idea to support. And we will be advantaged from it. The other thing that I would really like people to understand is that as we've experienced with the MMMA, these laws are as good as who's making some decisions about how they're implemented. And we had an attorney general who went out of his way to be in opposition to the MMMA and really slowed down a lot of potential progress, hurt a lot of people along the way, unnecessary convictions. Michael and Schuyler, of course, could talk about this at length and the personal stories that they've dealt with, and many people here, I'm sure, are aware of that as well. Now that same attorney general is running for governor. He's looking for an even higher position of power to abuse. So, and of course, we're talking about Bill Schuette. So we need to not allow him to be governor, and we need a much better attorney general. And we have an opportunity to do this in 2018. And I would like people to be aware of an attorney general candidate named Dana Nessel. She very specifically not only is very good on a magnitude of issues, but speaks in detail of why she supports us in this movement. And if she is in place, then we don't have the same kind of concerns as we do with somebody as a Schuette who's gone out of his way to work against us and to stop the kind of progress that would be possible. I don't take any kind of a party affiliation. I'm very narrow in my political views. I care about this issue, and that's pretty much it. So I've never really joined a political party. But I just recently joined the Michigan Democrat Party for the sole purpose of supporting Dana Nessel. There is no primary for the AG race. There is for governor, but there is not for AGs. That's determined at the convention. So if you are a member of the Michigan Democratic Party, you can show up at the convention in Detroit on April 15th, and you have to sign up 30 days before April 15th, and you can do so at the Michigan Democratic Party website. Dana Nessel is actually going to try to make it here today, and she would have had some of that information, but she couldn't make it. On the site, we'll give you what you need. I don't think you even need to make a donation. You just sign up. If you're a member of the party, 30 days before showing up at the convention, you can support Dana and have her beat her Democratic rival, who is a guy named Patrick Miles, who is a former federal prosecutor in the Western District, who has stated publicly that he doesn't like marijuana, he doesn't even believe in medical marijuana, and he prosecuted citizens of our state who were following the state law, including a couple of good friends of mine. So I'm not a big fan of his, and I'm really going to be there in support of Dana. So I urge everybody to do something similar. Even if you don't like the idea of joining the Democratic Party, which I had to struggle with a little bit myself, it's worth it. It's worth it if you care about this issue. Running against Bill Schuette, there is going to be a primary, and so we don't know for sure, but more likely the candidate will be Gretchen Whitmer, former Senate Minority Leader. She's been a lawmaker for 12 years. She's been the prosecutor of Ingham County, and she's very well qualified, and she also is in support. Her and Dana together would really make a huge difference for us. And I just want to urge everybody to do that. That's one of the best things you can do besides donating to the legalization to really move this forward. That's the update. Does anybody have any specific questions about legalization or anything that we're discussing, or MMFLA? All right. Oh. Yes. For CRMLA or for the MMFLA? How does outdoor grows work, Schuyler? It doesn't specify. Unless the rules and regulations preclude it. You definitely can under the CRMLA, and there is some rules under the MMMA, which about not being able to be seen from the road or from a neighbor's house, but it can be outside as long as it's secured. Anybody else? MMFLA, legalization, who to vote for? Oh, yeah. They can. They can. They have 40 days to decide just to adopt what we propose and make it law, or they can put something else on the ballot against it, or they can choose into the next session to pass legislation that would also be like a legalization measure if they'd like to. But the chances of that happening, I think, are pretty slim. They took a long time to get them to even pass something that was medical, and there has been somebody shopping around like more of a business-oriented legalization approach for the legislature that has not gained any steam whatsoever. Nobody's wanted to introduce it. In fact, the person actually went to some of the Democrats to try to get them to introduce it, and he couldn't get any luck there. So the chances of that happening are probably slim, but yes, they do have the ability to do that. Mm-hmm.
How do you see that business in the medical business? How do you see that? What do you think when you see that?
Yeah, well, we had to kind of work with the reality that the MMFLA had come into place in terms of this, and so they work congruently, as Attorney Camoran alluded to. If you hold one of the licenses under the MMFLA, you're first in line for getting one of the subsequent licenses in the CRMLA for up to a 2-year period. Now, the one thing, and Michael also mentioned this, that you can do without that is get involved in the micro businesses. So micro business, which is a self-contained business with 150 plants processing and retail in the front. And then there's a micro garden, which is a 100-plant garden, and that participates in the normal wholesale market. It sells to dispensaries and to processing centers. Both of those are an easier transition for caregivers than anything that the MMFLA provides. As Michael said, MMFLA doesn't really take the caregivers into consideration all that much. Well, this is another opt-in thing, and so the locals will have a lot to say about that, and then it's also up to a department. So there's some of those things aren't defined yet, and a regulator will make those decisions, similar to what's going on now, except for there won't be this weird board that's been given to them.
Hey, Jamie,
yep.
How do you see branding and brands coming in? Is there going to be a brand dominance in the marketplace?
Yes. So it's already started. First of all, there's things in other states. A lot of celebrities have gotten behind it, a lot of musicians, and I know we're working with some already. And I tend to believe that over time we'll see a lot of consistency in quality and price and things like that. And then what sets it apart will be who's best at presenting their product and being, and getting it out there and making people feel comfortable buying it. I mean, there's a lot of tomato sauce out there, but somebody buys Paul Newman's specifically for some reason, and that kind of thing will ultimately happen as the market gets more seasoned and more competitive. Yeah, market-based factors. I mean, nobody's imposing anything like that from the law. Not right now. I think some people had that in their mind as a future development, but no. Yeah. And processing places, depending on what their business model is. There's going to be integration in some cases too, and all different things will happen, and market factors will ultimately be the forces, I think, that determine pricing and how much goes where and when and that type of stuff. Is that it? Well, again, I'd really like to thank Grow Green, and there was just a short film made, and maybe you've seen that, Come Momentum. I happen to be in it, but the point is that these guys did a great job of hiring people to put on a really polished production and put out something really professional that mainstream can look at and get inspired by and see that as a nice, normal, good, emerging industry here that we can all benefit from and be involved with. So thanks again, everybody. Have a good day. Another great success for Grow Green today.